Hey kids! Today we're going to learn about American pop artist Jasper Johns. Here is his picture right here, and he's sitting in front of one of his paintings. So let's break down pop art. So in the 1960s and 1950s, there was a whole group of artists called pop artists. So pop art basically stands for popular imagery. So what does pop art stand for? Popular imagery. That's right. So they would take something popular from their culture or time period and turn it into art. And a lot of people at the time of pop art, they didn't like this because they said, you can't just take anything and make it into art. And the pop artist pretty much said, well, yes, you can. So let's look at what Jasper Johns' themed pop art was, okay? He's also categorized as an abstract expressionist artist. So these artists, and also Jackson Pollock is an abstract expressionist artist, they did this kind of spontaneous painting. They didn't really think about it too much. They said, oh, if this is something I like, I'm going to turn it into art. So spontaneous is kind of like when you are doing something on a whim, or like right when you feel like it. They're kind of going with their emotion. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so Jasper Johns was born in the 1930s, and he is best known for his flag paintings. And here's an interesting fact. In 1998, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, they paid more than $20 million for a painting called White Flag. Okay, so let's remember this theme that we see here. So he likes American themed things like flags. He also likes letters, numbers, and we already said USA. Those are all common themes that he uses through his art. That's all common popular imagery things that he uses in his artwork. Here's the flag. Here's a hidden number 8, if you can see the 8. And then here is the alphabet, just painted in really beautiful and kind of messy brushstrokes. That was his abstract expressionist theme coming out. He was very interested in art as a child, but then by the age of 24, he made the decision to become a real artist. Let's look at this picture. So I want you to think about what you see. Let's look at this one first. So you might be looking at it at first and thinking, okay, there's just a whole bunch of scribbly lines. But if you look closer, what do you see? If you said that you see numbers, you're right. So this was his draft, and then this was his painting. All of these numbers piled on top of each other. That is such an interesting thing that he did. All right, in this picture, you can find the United States of America. I don't know why the artist chose to hide them. Maybe I see some kind of a common theme going here. What do you guys think? We have some hidden numbers going on in this picture. Then we have some hidden United States going on in this picture. So it looked like the artist wanted to try to hide something when he was doing his work. Let's look at a couple more examples. So let's look at this picture. Can you see a number? I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to look at it. If you see a number 5, you're right. Here's the number 5. And he chose to go with a very similar color palette. He used a black and white grayscale. And it also looks very hidden. Here's another one. Very abstract expressionistic style. If you see a number 8, you're right. And then this one was to trick you guys a little bit, but we looked at this one first, but these are all of the numbers together. So if you said a number 1 through 10, you're right, because they're all in there. This one's a little bit easier. we can see the impression of a 3, and it looks like what did he use here? Maybe some kind of tag or magazine clipping? So that would be a mixed media art piece, not just a painting. Here's a whole bunch of hidden numbers. All right, we are going to get started on our Jasper Johns inspired artwork. So for this project, we are going to be using numbers just like Jasper Johns used in his artwork. All right, so we thought of something kind of interesting to make a birthday code number artwork. So here's what you're going to need. If you want to take a screenshot, paper, pencil, Sharpie, and coloring materials. Now you can choose to cut out your numbers if you have a printer, or if I give you the numbers to cut out. So you have to make that choice. All right. So let's first off let's figure out our birthday code, because some people might not actually know what it is in number format. Okay, so I was born in April. So here is my birth month. So I would be using a 4. Now for this birthday code grid, the grid is going to look like this, which I'll show you how to make also. We're going to stick the numbers into it. So we're going to have our month here on these 2 slots. Let me write in Sharpie. Month, month. Then we're going to have the day of our birth on this block, and then the year at the bottom. So since my birth year is 4, I need to stick a 0 in front of it. So if you are having January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, or September, you need to have a 0 in front. So it's going to be 0, 4 for my first part of my project, because I was born in April. I love this project because everyone's code is unique unless you were born on the same day as someone else. Now let's move over to the day. So my birthday is April 27th. So I don't need to look at this chart for that. I just know I can write a 2 here and a 7 here. Now for the year, I don't really like telling how old I am, but I was born in 1989 and I just turned 31. You did not hear that? So I'm going to put 1989 here for my birth year. Yep, I said it. Okay. Most of you will be in the 2000s, so let's figure that out because you might be a little bit confused. So on this code, you're going to look at your age. So let's say I am 7 years old and I was born in April. I'm going to be 2013. That's going to be my birth year. So I'm going to take a minute. If you need to pause this, you might need to look up your birth year. And if this is still confusing you, you can ask a parent or I can help you out. So take a minute to find out your birth year, because right now we are cracking the codes to our birthday. All right. So there are 2 ways that we can do this project. So any art teachers out there listening, you can do this 2 ways with your students. So I like to give them a draft so we know what our birthday is, because some students still need help figuring that out. Next, I want to show some final outcomes of the project. So there's one way I did this in my classroom where I printed the numbers and I printed a grid for my students to use. Okay, now this one would be cutting and pasting, right? So the students would cut out the numbers and paste them into their grid. Some of them choose that route. Other students choose to draw the numbers by hand and decorate them themselves. So I already went ahead and prepared this. This one is hand drawn. This one would be, the other way would be to cut it out. Okay, so If you are going the cutout way, don't underestimate the cutting because the cutting takes a long time. I already started this one. So I would have the students decorate the background first, which I've already prepared. And I always say, go with a simple background. I picked one marker and I tried to match the color of it underneath because the numbers are going to be glued on here. So you don't want to make the background too complicating. They could even color it in plain. But I stuck with my line qualities for this. So in each box, I put a different line quality from our line quality worksheet. So I chose wavy lines for this one, straight lines for this one, loopy curly lines, zigzag lines. I just did some different lines in going in different directions, straight diagonal, same here. And then the cloudy lines and some just simple polka dots. So this can be filled in very simple. Also, my kids know that we don't want to leave too much white paper showing because that's not going to make for a nice picture. So I'm going to color this in quickly, and I leave my crayons peeled down so I can do a rubbing. I'm really big on doing rubbings because sometimes I get a little bit bored of coloring, to be honest. I took time coloring my numbers, but I don't want to take too much time coloring in the background, especially since the numbers are the main part of it. So like, I don't want kids to rush. So kids, I don't want you rushing. Slow down. But I've boxed this in nicely so I can just simply rub over this very gently just to fill in the white spaces so it doesn't look so plain. Oh, I meant for that to be green, but it's blue, so that's okay. We'll put a little bit extra green over top of it. I'm choosing to go with the crayon color that I did under the marker color for the crayon color, just to keep it simple. I see a lot of times students, I like to have them finish this in one class period and then we work on our numbers in a different class period. So boys and girls, if you are coloring your backgrounds, just keep it simple. You don't have to go too crazy with doing each box rainbow and patterns and tons of different shapes. Just keep it simple. Stick to one line or shape group for that section, and color for that matter. Now, like I said before, don't underestimate the cutting. I even saved some to cut out so you can be reminded about how long the cutting actually does take. I like to leave a little white border around mine. You don't have to do that. You can just cut right on the line. But see how I'm turning my paper as I cut? This takes a while. And of course, I don't expect students to cut this middle part out. You can just color that in. I think that looks nice by itself. So notice how it's taking me a long time to turn and cut. So sometimes kids take the easy route and they say, oh, the numbers are already done for me. But the students that took the drawing route, like this one, they don't have to do any cutting. So you can't forget about cutting. And cutting, I'm always stressing neatness with cutting because if you cut out something really sloppy, it's going to show in your final product. Your work is going to look sloppy if you don't cut neatly. I had to use 2 worksheets for this, so that's fine. All right, let me clean up my workspace a little bit so I can move on. So now I get to arrange. Let's arrange the numbers first. So mine was 1989 and April 04 27 1989. Let me make sure I check my example just to make sure. Double check. 0427 1989. I cracked the code. The code is correct. So that's the way I would go about gluing. Here's how I'm going to glue. This actually turned out really nicely. I just put glue in the middle. Some art teachers show you to do it on the sides. I just try to stick mine to the middle, because when the papers are drying on the drying rack or wherever they are, they will be stuck to the paper for sure. You don't have to use a lot of glue. And then sometimes dried glue looks kind of sloppy. But if also you don't know this, glue dries clear. So you can't see it if you do get a little globby. That's why I use my fingers and a rag to wipe. I just stuck to some very simple designs for coloring. Maybe while you guys are watching, do you notice any ways that I colored, any different coloring techniques that I used? Maybe some different color choices. Give you guys a minute to look at my coloring example, because I did try to stick to doing a certain color palette. So if you guessed that I use complementary colors, you are right. So check this out. In some of my numbers, I use complementary colors because complementary colors help each other stand out. Okay, if you look at the color wheel, they're pointing to each other. They're across from each other. So purple is pointing at yellow. I use purple and yellow in my 0. For this one, I used the red and green. I meant to use a red, but it turned out pink. We know how that happens, but the pink looks nice too. Red and green are pointing to each other. And lastly, I used blue and orange. Those are also complementary colors. They help each other stand out. Now at the end of that, I ran out of color choices, so I just went with something that looked nice. So just a little, I just wanted to show you my thought process behind that. So that is one way you can do the birthday code. The other way is drawing it by hand, which I love when students do this because it looks authentic. I hate when kids want it to look perfect like mine. That's going to come with time. Bubble lettering comes with time. Now I always let them keep a number sheet handy to sketch and look off of. And I do allow tracing, art teachers out there who are sticklers about tracing. So kids, if you guys have a printer and you are able to print out the grid and the numbers, you can simply put this piece of paper over top of your letter, and I can actually see this almost perfectly. And I can go in and trace an outline. Okay, whatever the student feels more comfortable with. Oh, that Sharpie's getting really dried up. Whatever the student feels more comfortable with, I usually let them do. Sometimes I make it a requirement to draw freehand, but sometimes I let students trace or cut. Usually this is the #1 choice that kids do because they're intimidated to do bubble lettering by hand, but some of my really risk-taking kids, risk-taking artists choose to do the bubble lettering. So I am going to switch to doing the bubble lettering because I think I've explained this well enough. The tracing is simple. You got to line up the number and you got to trace in the box. Okay. Now for my students that are just doing this from home and you don't have a printer and you were not able to print off the resources, we're going to do this by hand, which is my favorite way. So I hope you figured out your birthday code. If you need a little help with your birthday, ask a friend, ask a parent to help you out, or ask me if I'm around. All right, now let's create our grid because not everyone's gonna have this just laying around at home. I'm gonna show you how I did that by hand. So you are going to take a piece of paper and make a graphic organizer type work sheet. So I'm gonna have to do a little folding. So first thing, I'm going to fold here, match the corners, crease, open up. That's going to be, I'm going to outline that later on. But let me finish folding first. Next, we're going to take the paper this way. Find the corners, hold it down, and crease. Open it up. Last one, keep that closed. We're going to fold it one more time. So now we have our 8 boxes. That will fit our birthday code in perfectly. Now I'm going to draw my Sharpie or pencil. If you don't have Sharpie, in this case, you could use a marker or pencil or Sharpie. I'm going to outline those lines right on the crease. That helps me out. If you're really trying to be neat and perfect, you could even use a ruler. I don't have one handy right now, so I'm just going to do my folded area. All right, now we're ready to do the bubble lettering, so I hope you are being brave for this part. So the way I teach my kids how to do bubble lettering with letters or numbers, you're going to sketch how big you want it. Notice I did this really lightly because I need to erase. Notice how much space I kept around the outside. I don't want my circle to be this small. That's not going to make for a very interesting picture. So I want my bubble letter to be big. So I'm going to sketch a really light 0, and then I'm going to go around it. Let me make that a little darker just so you can see, even though I don't want to draw too hard because I want it to erase. Then I'm going to leave a little space around it. Outside, inside traced. Erase this guideline. Just think about it. When you have this line sketched down here, you want to go around it. Let's say when you outline this part around, you don't want to run into the line at all. It needs some space, like you're making a little fence around it. See how it didn't touch the pencil at all? That's kind of how you have to think about a bubble letter. So far, so good. I also, you know what else I've seen kids do, which actually works really well? I'll do this one in marker this time. I've seen kids just write their number really neatly, and then you just darken it. You make the number more thick. I've seen a lot of kids do this, and this is like, by no means are you not doing the bubble letter, you're just figuring out a way to do it. Okay, look at that. Now we can outline it to make it look like we meant to do it, and then we drew it that way and then colored it in. Easy peasy. That way is so good. Let's do that way one more time just so you can see again what I did. So this time I'm going to make the 7. I'm going to write it like a normal 7. And then I'm going to make this more thick, so it looks like a real bubble letter 7. And of course I want people to think I drew it in Sharpie first, so I'm going to add that outline second. Now I've been doing bubble letters for a lot of years, obviously, since I already told you how old I am. At this point in my life, I can visualize what the letters look like, especially if I'm looking from an example. Okay, so I'm going to get this one really nice and close to me, and I'm going to do a little trick called observational drawing. That's when you observe, meaning you look at something, and then you try to draw what you see. So I see, and you should definitely do this in pencil first, I see this curved line. I see this top part. I see this line. I see this here, and I see the bottom. If you can do this type of thing, it's going to make you a better drawer. Don't be too hard on yourself if it doesn't turn out perfectly, because none of us are perfect. And over time, if you keep this up, you're going to be a better drawer. Okay, now we could even do it the other harder way and even not look at anything at all. Let's just try to visualize what the numbers look like in our own head. This one's going to be kind of tricky. I got to make the 8. For kids that don't like doing bubble letters, if you just want to write it, you got to make it look fancy though. Let's make this one look. We can still see there's some line work there, but let's cover it up with a little design. Always ways to fix stuff, always, especially if you're in my class. Now that doesn't even look like it was messed up at all. It looked like it was meant to be that way. We want it to look nice and bold, like we didn't have any mess ups. Let me not forget my name. Now remember the 2 different ways that we colored. This one, I had that really easy way of just coloring the whole background and gluing it on. This time you're gonna have to decorate the the number, and you're gonna have to decorate the background differently. So this time, I'm gonna have to take extra care when I go to color it. These are just things that artists have to do. Even like I said earlier, sometimes I actually don't enjoy coloring as much. I'm good at coloring, but I don't enjoy it as much, especially knowing that I have to color all of this in. But I am an artist, and I am always willing to put in the necessary time that it takes to make my drawing look great. Being a good artist is meaning that you want it, just like you want to be a good athlete, you want to be a good singer. It takes practice, and it takes patience and dedication and time to make something look nice. There's a lot of times when I see kids just try to get done with it, and they end up doing this type of a thing. They think, oh wow, my drawing turned out great, and they do this, and they try to rush. And they just end up coloring the whole thing. The point of it was to make the number pop out from the background. So this to me is a lazy approach. One little coloring tip I love to do is doing some marker and some crayon. If I outline this again, and then go to color it in later, I'm gonna make my job a little bit easier when it comes to the side edge. I don't have to like worry about the crayon going out of the line too much, because I gave myself this little barrier. Give that a nice outline. Now when I go in with the purple, I don't have to worry so much about getting it on the edge and on the red. I'm all about coloring on the side of my crayon. It just makes my life a little bit easier. Let me give you a little pointer on how to do the background a little easier too. Make sure I use something that works here. Okay. If I go around the 4, make my life a little easier as I'm coloring the background. Just an outlining trick. I'm even going to do this part to make my life a little easier. add some line qualities or designs. This time, I think I'm gonna change it up a little bit and just do some little shapes. I'm gonna do some triangles floating around here because I think shapes are easy and fun to do, and they make for some really good designs. Always keep your little shape and line paper handy. In my classroom, I have something like this always posted at the top so kids can just look up and say, oh, I need an idea for this background, or I need an idea for this number. You gotta look up, you gotta use your resources. Look to the person next to you and say, whoa, that looks really cool how you did those zigzag lines. I think I'm gonna do that in this box. You know, kids get so offended when people copy them, but copying is sometimes the best form of flattery. And you know what? Give that person credit. If you say, whoa, dude, your 7 looks so cool. Do you mind if I use that same zigzagging trick? The kid says, no, I don't at all. You should use it. It's fine. You know, sometimes adults can be a little bit nicer with flattery because we give each other credit and say, oh, hey, do you mind if I use this idea? I think kids get bothered by copying when people don't ask them or give them credit and say, I like what you did. Do you mind if I use it? So remember to ask someone or just give them the compliment and tell them that you really want to use that same design. All right, another little design trick. Let's say you want to make some designs on your 4 and you want to do it quick. Watch this. If you take a lighter color, color it all in. Like I'm going to use a yellow or an orange because I know those are light. And I can make other marker designs on top. All right, got that filled in. Now I can make my little designs on top. I love the combination of using marker and crayon in the same, and always in the same drawing. So look, I could do it the opposite way. I can do a marker design. I'll give this one polka dots. I'll do a marker design in the 9, and then I'll color over it lightly. You could use a different color. You could stick to the same color. It's up to you. But using marker and crayon interchangeably is like one of my favorite things. I'm even going to, let's see, oh, let me fix this up a little bit. Okay. The artist in me wants to just stick with purple, but I'm gonna just do a different color just to show you you can do that. Do this blue. A lot of times what I see kids doing, I hope you guys listen to this because it will save you a lot of time. I see kids focusing on one thing that they want to color, and they're gonna say, I want to show Miss Hess that I'm such a good artist, so I want to make this number really detailed. So they'll get their colors together and they will start off on the detailed process, and they go, okay, 1 stripe here, put this down, pick up the next color, 1 stripe here, put this down, pick up the next color. Oh, hang on, let's make sure I get a pattern going here. Oh, gotta get that color again. This is great and all, but this kind of tires me out. I have to think about the big picture. I have to think about all of the boxes needing some room. So a good artist knows how to pace themselves. If I do this for every single one, it's gonna take forever. And also I can think about spreading these out and using the same color that's in my hand until I'm done. So I could have done it this way and said, okay, if these are all going to be purple, I'm going to space out my purple, space out the purple. Picking up the different color in between each time takes a long time. So now I can put this down, get my next color. I think I did blue next. I know the blue goes right underneath. Now I can just put this down. I don't have to keep picking it up 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I just use the red all in one final swoosh, swoop. Now, would I recommend coloring them all that way? No, but I do have some nice detail in one of the letters, which I'm proud of. Now I just got to figure out the background. So, you know, separating out your detail. Okay, the 1 is super detailed. The 9 is super detailed. Let me do the 8 plain, especially since my 9 has some more detail on it. Don't get lazy at the end. Okay. And since my 9 has such a nice detail, and this one has a detailed background, I could even get away with doing a plain background for this one, right? Get that done. Plain detail, plain detail. All right, I'm going to do a little detail trick here. Let's see. And this one, I'm going to do little hearts. Oh, that's definitely dried out. Get rid of that one. And I'll just do a quick little color over top. I'm a big fan of kind of doing the same color with the same crayon, the same marker crayon and marker color for the background things, but I know kids like to switch it up. Sometimes it doesn't always look good when you try to overlap certain colors though. Like let's say if I did these hearts in a yellow marker and I colored over it, barely gonna see the marker design. Okay, I'm not gonna finish this all, well, let's see how I kind of want to now. Make my life easier with this color. Color these in to add detail. See how I'm using all of the blue first? I see kids do this kind of a thing all the time, and I say, honey, you're wasting your time doing it like that. I see kids get the orange and then they color. They do their pattern, right? Then they come and get their blue. Then they color one thing. Then they put the lid back on, they come and get their orange. Then they put their lid back on and they come and get their blue. This is really, really wasting time. If I just get all these blues done, then I go for my orange, I'm not wasting as much time with switching the markers on and off. You gotta think ahead. The good artists think ahead. I'm already thinking ahead what I want my background color to be, and it's gonna be something lighter. I can use maybe, well, I just used the green there. Maybe I'll do a yellow. Love doing the rubbing here. Make my life easy. Now I'm already thinking about a background for my 8 because I got 2 plain 9 backgrounds. Remember, I want to switch up the detail a little bit. All right, so let's think I might want to do, so if I need some juicier markers out. Okay. Get an outline to make my life easier. Using crayon and marker interchangeably. What design do I want to do? Let me go to my ideas chart and look. Cloudy line. Kind of looks like waves or clouds depending on how you look at it. Easy peasy. Just fill this back in. All right, I'm coming down to the end here. So I got a plain 7, so maybe I want to add some more detail. You guessed it. See, I'm moving my paper around to help me with the angle of my coloring. So much easier. And this one I'm just going to do like thicker stripes. What do I want to do here? All right. So I hope you guys remember learning about Jasper Johns today, American pop artist. He chose letters, numbers, and USA themed things for his work. I really hope you guys enjoyed this lesson. I love how personalized and individualized this project is because everyone has their different birthday code. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Jatira Foster. She did this one. I absolutely love this. So this was so creative. She said, Miss Hess, I tried to pick a different pop artist theme for each one of these. Like this one was supposed to be a Jackson Pollock theme, and this was supposed to be like an Andy Warhol theme. I don't remember what the other themes were, but she did a good job doing detail, colorful, and making sure she did a plain, or like a different color background to a different color number. So let's see, Jatira, she is 2005, so she's already 15. I can't believe it. Or maybe 14. Wow. So she donated her project to me to use as an example, but I just thought this one turned out so nice. So just remember, you're going to be keeping these projects for a long time. Your birthday is never going to change, so you might as well try your best making your birthday code beautiful right now. Don't rush. All right. Thanks for watching.